What up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Pastry podcast. I'm your host, Winston Murdoch, and today we have a bartender in house. Now, this is the first time I'm having a bartender, and I'm really excited about this podcast because this young man has such a creative mind. He makes some of the most extraordinary drinks or cocktails that I've ever seen in my life, and that's one of the things that intrigued me. So today we have Randeen Thomas. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Definitely. It's my pleasure, man. Like I said, I really I embrace having conversation with people who are, a little bit outside of the normal. You know what I mean? And I realize that you're really, really into being one of them people that tried outside of the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that is what helped propel me to another level,
Right.
And let me stand out from the different on the islands.
Right. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like where are you from?
You have to be. The name is Randeen Thomas. But my bartending colleagues call me the Big Belly Bartender. I originated Jamaica in Kingston. That's where I started my bartending career. So, but to me, my bartending career started when I watched a movie called Cocktails with Tom Cruise at a younger age. I was inspired by him and said, I want to be a bartender. After leaving high school, I got my first job at a restaurant called Jewel of India, which it was an Indian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But I started out as a waiter. Then a bartender left and went to a hotel. So that's when I got promoted as a mixologist. And I started learning about the different cocktails. So at first it was an on-the-job training. I didn't get certified as yet. Then I went and get certified through Bar for Life. It's a program by Diageo. Then I went and get other certificates along. Each time I move up rank, more certificates I get.
Okay, so
that's pretty much my career in Kingston.
So you didn't have any intention at all to being a bartender?
Yeah, man, I had intention of being a bartender. As I said, when I watched the movie Cocktails with Tom Cruise, so that was I wanted to become a bartender. But
so you
don't hear a lot of persons say, "Hey, I want to become."
Right. You know what I mean? The reason why I asked that is that there's a lot of people that, like you said, you watched the movie and you got the whole feeling that you wanted to become a bartender. I thought it was more like you had a drink one day. You like, you know what? I want to learn to make this drink.
Nah. I definitely wanted to become a bartender.
Right.
And then again, in my household, my mom always create some unusual drinks to pair with her dishes on Sundays. I don't think she was doing more of a food pairing, but it was more like, she just gonna make some Sunday pairing. So like, let's say breadfruit punch, okra punch, pumpkin punch, drinks like those. So that's where I got most of it from.
So is your mom a chef?
No, she's just like every Jamaican mom, just a good cook.
Right. Yeah. So, but you know what? Like I said, I really enjoyed to see, and now I see where you get that Birdfruit drink that you made with the pistachio the other day. That's where you kind of get that concept from.
The thing about it, with that drink now, I wanted to create something different from the regular breadfruit punch. I was like, how can I make this different and more appealing to everybody? Because there are so many recipes or the same recipe of breadfruit punch on the internet.
Right.
So I wanted to bring a difference, So just to pair something nutty with it, and then the contrast with the different colors. So that's why I think that would be a good idea to do that.
So you switched from being a waiter, right? And you moved into being to bartending.
Right.
What right. Sometimes I hear people use the term mixologist all the time, but I'm not sure exactly what it means. So is it like just a scientific name for bartender?
Right, I guess it's more of a sophisticated name for bartenders, but my belief is there is no such thing as a mixologist because you have to be. The whole thing is just being just a bartender. A mixologist is just a fancy name because if you go to like a dentist, you don't have a good name or a bad name for a dentist. It's just dentist. So I don't think they should have like a good name or a bad name for like a bartender. So in some people, a mixologist would be the good one, and the not so good one would be the bartender.
Yeah,
Meaning the mixologist is more.
because in most time when they're having like competition,
Go
they don't
again?
in competitions they don't really most of the time they consider it a mixologist. I was thinking that a mixologist is somebody that like really flares when they're making the drinks. Those people that the bartenders that be just throwing the bottles up and doing like out of this world things with it.
Well, well, you have. Well, no disrespect to no Flaretenders, but I believe that once you're a bartender or a flare tender, you cannot do both. Why? Because flare tending takes a lot of practice.
Mm.
Also, bartending, because in bartending you have to be studying your flavors, learning how to work with flavors, balancing and stuff like that. And on the other hand now, with the flare tending, you have to practice every day, every day. So it's like you sacrifice something for something else. So
Right.
it's hard to balance both. So I don't think a flare tender is ever a great bartender or a great bartender is ever a great flare tender. And even if great bartenders, most of the great flare tenders, they're not great bartenders.
Mm.
'Cause I can even mention there's this guy from England. He died now. His name is Dick Bradsill. He created a drink called the espresso martini. You have Sam Ross. He created penicillin, and those guys are bartenders. Those guys aren't flare tenders. And go way back where you have Jerry Thomas. He wasn't a flare tender, and he's like one of the greatest bartenders of all time.
Mm.
So that's just my take. You know,
So you think
maybe it changed over.
so you think that it's more
Go ahead,
important
go
to
ahead.
be a bartender, but learning the craft, mastering the flavors and stuff like that, rather than just being showcasing your skills.
Of course. It's just because by the end of the day, the customer comes to the bar to drink. It's good to can do one and two trick, but
Right.
when you have a busy bar, I don't think you can do that.
Right. Definitely. So let me ask you, what inspires you on your job or when you're around the bar?
Well, that's a tough question. My inspiration, I guess, like each time I play with like a new flavor or something like that, or I guess challenge me or something like that. I think that's my inspiration, and I live and I breathe bartending. So to venture outside of it, I don't think I would survive. And
So
then just to add to it, how far it has taken me, I think that each time I reach a milestone, that's an inspiration from it. Like I'm saying to myself, yo, it seems like I'm here to do this. This is my gift on earth.
right. So you really are challenged by your customers.
Yeah.
Wow. So are you telling me so these are these drinks that you're making? They're inspired by your customers, like the curry goat one that you made, which we're going to talk about
No,
later
not
on.
really, It's all right. So like my culinary cocktail. How I start making culinary cocktails, I entered this competition called Taste of Jamaica. I don't know if you ever heard about
Oh
it,
yeah, I know about that one.
where the bartenders, yeah, they have to use like indigenous ingredients and create a cocktail and do some form of cooking. So the first cocktail, well, the two first cocktail I created for that competition, it was the stew peas martini and the jerk pork daiquiri. So how the idea came about now is like a friend of mine said to me he created a drink called Aki. So Aki drink now. So one day I was eating stew fish and I was like saying to myself, wonder how I can turn this into a cocktail. And after I contacted many of my chef colleagues, nobody have any idea to give me. So I just said to myself, all right, let's experiment. Because most things comes from experimenting or just what we would say in Jamaica, buck up, just an accident. So I started to play around with it, and you can't get the two beats and then just throw it in a blender. That not gonna work, right? So what I did, I break it down in my mind, like get all the ingredients for the stew peas, and I'm like, all right, how can I get the liquid? So whenever like you add like the pimento, the thyme, all the seasoning to the water, I use that water now, and the meat in the water, I use that water to create a syrup, right? So I use that water to create a syrup now. I don't add any coconut milk until I make it the drink. And I add coconut milk to the drink. I use vodka because vodka is a versatile spirit, can capture any flavor, any color. So I use that, and then we have in Jamaica we have this liqueur called Berry Hill, which is a allspice liqueur. Right, so I use that to boost up the flavor and just a hint of pepper, and that's it. Garnish with thyme and a Scotch bonnet pepper, and that's a soupies martini.
So that
So
idea,
simple it is.
so that concept of entering that competition, this whole culinary cocktail, as you call it, that's what you call it, culinary cocktail.
Culinary cocktail, yeah.
That's very impressive, and I feel like stuff like that people would definitely travel to try, because when I saw it at first, I was like, I don't know, you know what I mean, and then like I'm starting to think about, based on what you're just describing to me, I'm like, okay, maybe that will taste good, you know what I mean. So what are the response you get from
Yeah.
people that have tried
Yeah.
it?
Well, most persons before they try it is always the hard part. So whenever I say to somebody, would you like to try my soupies martini? Like, they just can't wrap their mind around it.
Right.
So what I do, I like give them a sample of it and say, just try it. And 90% of the time, they like, why persons don't like it is because of the idea of it. So they're like, I like it, but it just
Don't make no
I
sense.
just don't think I should be drinking stupid. That's just you have those people in that.
Right. So people respond to you with the curry goat, the stew peas. Even I saw that you made this other one, the stinking tour, which was, and you paired it with amaretto.
Yeah.
I actually made a dessert with a stinking tour, and I paired
The it
thing
about with stinking too.
I paired it with banana, and it goes good with tamarind too. You know what I mean? But when I saw the amaretto, and I'm like, wow, that sounds, it sounds risky, but it could work if you're not putting too much amaretto. But I'm gonna try the flavors together and see what happens though. So what was the concept behind that?
The flavors really good. So the concept behind that, because I did work with stinking tour already, but I used papaya instead of the amaretto. So I challenged myself and said, all right, a lot of persons like to drink amaretto sour. So what can I add to the amaretto sour now to make it more interesting, Because I had some stinking to at home. So tried it. What I did, I added to the amaretto mix, and then shook it. And then, as stinking to have a very powerful taste and smell. And it balanced out, it worked so well. I didn't really, I was thinking about it, I was unsure, but when I tried it, I realized it worked really well.
But the thing about stinking tuna is that even though it smells weird, once you pair it with stuff that really counterbalance it, then you find that well, it's for me, maybe because I'm working with it, all of that just disappears. You know what I mean? Like when you mix it with the banana, because it almost have like a malt flavor to it. So when you mix it with the banana, it kind of brings out that maltiness in it. You know what I mean? So I think also it's concept, because when I did it one time, I went to this, what you call that thing? Man, what's that thing? Observer Food Awards. I did the Observer Food Awards one time, and I made a thinking to a cheesecake, and I didn't tell the people what it was because I know if I told them they're not gonna eat it. So I gave them like the scientific name. So I just came up with a name for the dessert, and I told them. Yeah, and then everybody was like, "Wow, this is really good," and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's thinking to," and they're like, "What?" Oh. I'm like, why are you spitting it out? You know what I mean? They spitting it out as if it's nasty. I'm like, what? It's a concept. The mind plays tricks on people all the time, you know? And that's why a lot of people would say you eat with your eyes first. So being that people are so skeptic of trying stuff that is not normal, how do you see like the whole bartending landscape going in this direction, where maybe you can create one of these drinks and they could turn into something famous?
The thing about it, well, I would say yes, it can turn into something famous because most of those cocktails, as I said before, propel me to a next level. But also, when it comes on to like a famous cocktail, or I would say that modern classic cocktail, it has to be simple. Simplicity goes a long way.
Right.
So I think it might work, and I also think it might not work because it's not everybody is going to be acceptable to that drink,
right,
that type of drink, right? So I use it as I use those drinks as, I would say, a stepping stone to grab people attention, because it's controversial.
Right.
You know, people are gonna always give a bad review about it without even tasting. So, controversy always said. So that is my I would say my secret to want to contribute to my success.
But in all honesty, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I gravitated to your page, was because of that spontaneity, or the creativity of the way you structure your drinks. Like the Cersei, you know what I mean? That people are not using these things, and it's like the Cersei, and it's funny that the Cersei is almost similar to in flavor with the Campari. You know what I mean? And Campari now is now a popular drink in the culture. You know what I mean? Because if you know, like if you break down the flavor components of Campari, you realize that it comes from Cersei. And all right, let me explain something to you now. So there is a fruit in India and China that is called bitter watermelon. It's the same Cersei, but it grows bigger.
Yeah, I know bitter. The same thing as Cersei.
Yeah.
But it's just that it has more of a bigger yellow fruit like.
Right. So when you understand that, if somebody's supposed to think that, oh, Cersei drink that one tastes nasty. No, you think about it. It's the same thing as drinking Campari. And Campari, you can blend it with almost any fruit. Mango, grapefruit. You know what I mean? Even the inside of the Cersei, the little orange fruit that grows on it, you can use it. You can use it in the sense of like a pomegranate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because if you suck the seed off that thing, it tastes like it's sweet.
True.
You know what I mean? And
well, I've never tasted the fruit. I always drink the leaf, but no, I'm going to try it.
Yeah, whenever you get a chance, get one of the ripe ones, the yellow or orange, whatever color that is. You bust it open. There's a red seed inside. If you suck on the seed, it's sweet. You know what I mean? And a lot of people would see these things and be like, oh, okay. But you started out with something that you're doing as a shock value, but this thing can have some form of substance behind it. You know what I mean? Because you're now tapping into another side you're tapping into another side of bartending and flavor profile. Because when I see you do these things, you're probably just doing them like, oh, I'm just going to do this. But I'm looking deeper than that. You know what I mean? Like even with the curry goat, the curry goat drink that you make. a lot of people would see it again and say, "Oh, you can't eat, you can't drink." It's the same thing. I got a dessert that I make out of curry goat, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm doing Sunday dinner. I have a dessert that I make, Jamaican breakfast, where I use ackee, I use avocado, I use roast breadfruit, I use thyme, saltfish, and Scotch bonnet pepper. You know what I mean? One dessert. Now, if I tell somebody that's what it is, they're going to have some form of, resistance. But if you take that outside of Jamaica, if you take it outside of Jamaica and you give it a name, take away the ingredient and give it a name first, then you get a different perspective. You know what I mean? A lot of the restaurants that are making a lot of money and are getting a lot of recognition are cooking these type of stuff. They're making these type of drinks. You know what I mean? It's not